Hello and welcome to the Fire Chief's video message for October 2019. Joining me this month in the studio is Captain Franz Minthier. Franz, welcome and thank you.
Good morning, thank you.
So one of the things that you took extra responsibility and extra task on here recently was being the project coordinator for Fire Ops 101 at the Academy. Thank you very much. We touched base with you in May and said, here's this project and this is what it entails. So can you tell us a little bit about Fire Ops and what we did that day?
Sure, right. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to participate. Fire Ops, basically it's a program that's based on a program developed by IAFF, and it's a program that takes place around all around the country with departments all around the country, and we figured it'd be a good opportunity for us to have one of those programs here at Montgomery County to show our elected officials what we do and why we do it.
Right. So we've done some. It was actually a little bit of history developed. It was 2006 since we had done our last internal and only Montgomery-focused one. We had participated in one in May back at MIFRI with Prince George's and Annapolis. And about 4 years ago, another one that was joint with Prince George's. So you said elected officials, but what was the grouping of, how would you categorize the folks that attended?
We had several state delegates that attended, delegates and senators, state senators. We had some council members, senior staff folks that showed up, and a couple media were out there.
So we were aiming for folks from the executive branch, so the OMB director, a new HR director,
right,
finance, procurement, risk management, assistant CAO, and the CAO attended.
Exactly.
Mr. Elrich has attended twice before, so it was some folks from the executive branch, as well as a legislative branch.
Right.
As you said, several council members were there, staff members. A few had to change their schedules at the last minute for some conflicts. Right. We had some school board participants.
Exactly.
The folks that support the high school cadet program, as well as I'm going to say Mr. Davis, who's former middle school principal, who's now in charge of some of the community outreach and interaction.
Exactly.
Folks from MCPS, and then some media, outlets. We had WDVM, WTOP, and intended to have another, reporter from the DC area. So we had, 32 people, ready to go. And exactly. What were the 4 stations that they were exposed to?
The 4 stations we had were an extrication station. We had a maze, ladder climb station. We had an EMS station, and then we had a stand-up, sit-down station.
So when you say EMS, what go a little bit in more detail about what the scenario was and what the skills were that the participants.
Sure. So the scenario took place in our high bay. We actually broke up the participants into 2 groups. One group took care of a critical patient on the 3rd floor of the high bay that needed to have CPR performed, and they had to navigate moving the patient down from the 3rd floor down to the bottom of the high bay, and we simulated having them transfer the patient to an ambulance stretcher, right, and then the ambulance itself.
So one of the objectives in that was discussing high performance CPR,
correct,
discussing the tools and resources that ALS providers have at hand, and as you said, that scenario was focused on patient movement dynamics, exactly, and the requirements thereof.
Exactly.
It was how and why 4 or 5 people are required to facilitate that transition. And then the ergonomics, one of the capabilities that we wanted to highlight was the onboarding process of power load, power lifting, stretchers, the stair chair assistance, and patient movement components. as those were critical to how we are engaging with and making engineering changes on the activities.
Right.
So you said stand up, sit down.
Uh-huh.
We worked on this for so long that just absolutely means the defined activity within the flashover simulator. But what was stand up, sit down, and what did the participants go through?
Exactly. So using, like you said, our Draeger flashover simulator, we use that to demonstrate to them the different phases of fire, right? Incipient, growth, fully, not fully involved, but near fully involved. And we had the participants stand up a little bit and feel the effects of the fire, the heat at the top of the simulator, and that was also an opportunity for us to talk about the different types of fire, different types of materials that are involved in fire, modern materials as compared to legacy materials. Gave us a chance to talk about our gear, types of gear that we use. Yeah.
So Leslie, Knox, Sam, and Jose, the folks at Logistics, did an amazing job getting ready, having these sets of gear. Some folks went to property to get size. Some folks filled out a form to list their sizes. So everybody was wearing, structural firefighting gear, and they wore that throughout the day. Obviously taking off the coats during certain parts of it. But in the stand-up, sit-down, they were on SCBA in the flashover simulator. Most of their groups got to utilize thermal imaging to see the different stratification of the heat and expose that. But what was when they came out of the flashover simulator, we did push them into the decon procedure. So explain what we did on that.
Exactly. We wanted to, we took the opportunity to talk to them about our decon procedure, specifically wet decon, and the effects of different particles accumulating on your skin, and that effect that might have on cancer risk reduction. So we had them come out, use baby wipes immediately to get the gross particles off of them, and then we took them through a wet decon, basically hosing down and cleaning off the debris off of their gear.
And one of the things that we did at the end of the rotation, so there was those 4 stations, and that lasted about 50 minutes each, and then by about 1 o'clock we had rotated through that, and then Battalion Chief Fitch did a overview and presentation on cancer exposures, health and safety of the folks within the fire service, and that was a paramount part. It was we wanted them to see the components of and see the knowledge of what the men and women are exposed to, and what and why second sets of gear are important, and what and why rehab and rotation and the capabilities of doing the best and the most to decon. So what did we do at the end of the day, and how did we wrap up the day? What was the highlight in that part?
At the end of the day, like you said, we had Chief Fitch talking, but a big part of that relating to our cancer risk reduction efforts were that we had them put their gear, doff their gear, remove their gear on the opposite side of the engine bay where we're positioned, to keep any contaminants, particulates away from where the folks were going to be sitting.
Right.
And then we had a very productive, I think, question and answer session.
We did that over lunch. Lunch was provided by Mark Davies and the union's barbecue team.
Exactly.
Thanks to President Buttle and the International. That was a great support. They provided breakfast as well as lunch there, and the event was tremendously well. Like I said, the weather could not have been better.
Right.
Earlier that week, it was in the upper and mid 90s.
Exactly.
You had a lot of accommodations for rehab and shelter ready to go, but that day it was in the mid 70s, with pretty much cloud and overcast. So the folks were sweating, but what
it made it a little comfortable for
they were sweating, and they realized that they knew if it had been 2 days before, they would have been a lot more impacted by and would have been reflective. So what was some of the feedback points that you got from the participants?
Well, many of the folks were very impressed with the physical nature of the job and
Right.
what it takes to be physically fit in order to perform as a firefighter. And they're very keenly aware of the fact that we have both men and women participating in this service, and everyone is almost to the same level of physical fitness, able to do the job.
Yeah, so they were amazed at how the little parts tie together,
Yep.
from health and fitness through equipment, and both the equipment that we're wearing as well as the equipment that is being used or carried, and then the integration of those activities. We had a great opportunity that the high school cadets had already been in session, and Lieutenant Tatum had them present for a part of the day, showing how we're engaging with our school partners and working with MCPS on that. So it was very well done. I thank you very much for all the effort and planning that went into that. As we, aimed, this was their opportunity to learn about the fire service,
Right.
experience the fire service, and then be able to support their community fire service.
Exactly.
And know what the components and the impacts are, and how maybe as a state person in Annapolis, or as a MCPS person, or an executive person in risk management or finance or OMB, how they can support. Even our own Tracy O'Connor from behind the camera here in the media office was present,
Right.
at the event. So it was really a great opportunity, and my appreciation to all of the adjunct instructors that were present,
Exactly.
who took that extra effort to explain things to a person who was not from a fire background, to answer a lot of questions, because that was a lot about it, was
Right.
talking and exchanging information.
Yeah.
It wasn't such drilled pace that they had to rush and bustle through everything. There was a lot of explanation and dialogue, and that's why we had the team leaders that
Right.
were there to help them be present and to provide those informations and answers. And so the date's already set, September 18th next year. We've already
Exactly.
locked the date in with both council as well as all of our support infrastructure. So the timing is designed on purpose. Why we picked September is the weather's better. Obviously, the June, July, August timeframe,
All right, way too
both
hot.
weather gets to be such a problem, and council is in recess for a period of that time, as we are out of town during a period of that time. April and May, the weather is appropriate, but council and executive branch is significantly into the budget process.
Right.
As the mid-May is the end of the budget process. So September, October is the time for that, and like I said, we picked a date for next time. Maybe have one every couple years, and aim to have that again. So we've already got a reservation this morning from someone else behind the camera, but yep, we're going to have it again next September. So. Any other takeaways from fire ops?
Well, again, thank you for the opportunity to help out, and I'd just like to reiterate what you said. Really appreciate all the work that the instructors and adjuncts and all the support staff too, the other people that came up on other units to help us out. This wouldn't have been possible without all their help. So
Right.
big shout out to them.
And when we did work the program and work the scenarios and change them as ideas and thoughts came about, so it was definitely collaborative as well. So. Shout outs to that. So, as we said, the weather was beautiful that day, had been hot. We're in the middle of October now, and we definitely, I feel lucky that we're into this fall season. But we're getting ready to, prepare for the next season, and, Thanksgiving is around the corner, and the leaves are falling, and the cold weather may be upon us. So, as we do at the academy, and as you're doing at the station level, everybody needs to be ready for those seasonal changes and have that extra bag on the rig for cold weather activities. We're going to have those increased fire activities because of cooking fires, but more specifically alternative heat sources. and it's definitely a part of what we see changing in the fall time frame. One of the good news on the unit front was, as we said, we talked about and had one of the striker power loads present for the exercise. Next month, we're going to be taking final inspection on the first 2 of 16 new EMS units. Those will be, all 16 will have the power cot with them, and that's those, you'll be seeing those in the station starting the beginning of the year. So that's the adjustments there on the front. Don't have any specific updates on other apparatus activities, but look for information coming out soon about the changes on the engine front, as well as a couple other activities. So as we roll in, again, Franz, thank you very much for the help coming in today. And any other remarks about what other things are going on at the Academy and activities there?
The activities are typically busy as usual. So we have a recruit class in right now. And
46 started, what, 2 weeks ago?
Yep, about 2 weeks ago, and another recruit class planned right after that.
Yep.
In December-ish. Yep.
So as we say, Academy is always a busy place from 5 a.m. until 10 p.m. at night.
Exactly.
It's never quiet there unless it's in the wee hours in the morning, and even then the county police are there doing their late
ops.
shifts and their midnight shifts drills. So as we wrap up the October session, again, be ready for the seasonal changes. Get out there, take care of preparedness, and be ready. Fall's upon us, the leaves are coming down, and until next time, take care.